But we as a continent have now defined
In the news, COVID-19, Nigeria receives first batch of COVID-19 vaccines. Across Africa, Senegal opposition denounces arrest of political hostages. On the international scene, Jack Ma loses a title as China's richest man after coming under Beijing's scrutiny. Myanmar pleads fire stun grenades as Southeast Asian ministers aim for talks. Details of this when we return after this break. Hello, I am Rose Audu and this is TOS News 360. A presidential aide, Bashir Ahmed, has said on Tuesday that Nigeria has received 3.94 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, which is the much-awaited first batch of vaccines from the COVAX facility to the country. According to Bashir, the 3.94 million doses of the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine arrived at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in the capital, Abuja, ushered by top government officials at a short ceremony. In a statement, the United Nations in Nigeria said the arrival marked a historic step towards the goal to ensure equitable distribution of COVID-19 vaccines globally. Edward Callan, the UN resident coordinator in Nigeria, said the arrival of these vaccines in Abuja marks a milestone for the COVAX facility in its unprecedented effort to deliver at least 2 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines globally by the end of 2021. President has declared Zamfara a no-fly zone. The National Security Advisor, retired Major General Babagana Mungunu, made this known when he briefed a State House correspondent at the end of the meeting of the National Security Council. The meeting was presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Council Chamber of the State House, Abuja, on Tuesday. Mungunu said the President has approved, based on our recommendations, the imposition and enforcement of a ban on all mining activities in Zamfara with immediate effect until further notice. He has directed the Ministry of Defense and the National Security Advisor to deploy the massive military and intelligence assets to restore normalcy to that part of the country. He has also approved that Zamfara State should be declared a no-fly zone with immediate effect. And Alibaba and art group founder Jack Ma has lost the title of China's richest man. A list published on Tuesday showed as his peers prospered while his empire was put under heavy scrutiny by Chinese regulators. Ma and his family had held the top spot for China's richest in the Hurun Global Rich list in 2020 and 2019, but now enthralled in fourth place behind Batude Watermarker and Gulfo Springs, Zung Sushan. Tencent holding party, Ma and e-commerce upstart Pinduoduo's Colin Huron. The latest list showed his fallout of the top three comes after China's regulators rein in an ant-grouped and Alibaba on antitrust issues, the Huron report said. Ma's recent woes were triggered by an October 24 speech in which he blasted China's regulatory system, leading to the suspension of his ant group, the $37 billion IPO just days before the fintech giant's public listing. Regulators have since tightened antitrust scrutiny on the country's tech sector, with Alibaba taking much of the heat. The market regulator launched an official antitrust probe into Alibaba's in December. Chinese regulators also began to tighten their grip on the fintech sector and have asked Ant to fold some of its businesses into a financial holding company to be regulated like transitional financial firms. Ma, who is not known for shying away from the limelight, that disappeared from the public eye for about 3 months, triggering a frenzied speculation about his whereabouts. He re-emerged in January with a 50-second video appearance. China's current richest man, Zun, made his first appearance at the top spot largely thanks to the share price performances of Ngufo Spring and vaccine maker Beijing Wantai Biological Pharmacy Enterprise, which he also controls. Tencent's Ma saw his wealth swell 70% over the year to 480 billion yuan, while Predondo's Hyung's fortune grew 283% to 450 billion yuan. The list said, in comparison, the wealth of Ma and his family grew 22% to 360 billion yuan. You're watching TOS News. The news will continue shortly after this timeout. Welcome back, and this is 30 TOS News. Welcome back. This is TOS News 360. 3 protesters were critically injured when security forces fired live rounds at anti-coup protesters in northwestern Myanmar on Tuesday. Medics said as regional powers met to pressure the junta over his deadly crackdown. The talks to be held in a video call will come 2 days after the bloodiest day of unrest since the military removed Aung San Suu Kyi's elected government a month ago. Unleashing anger and mass street protests across Myanmar, protesters, many wearing hard hats and clutching makeshift shields, had gathered behind barricades in different parts of the main city of Yangon to chant slogans against military rule. If we were oppressed, there will be explosion. If we were hit, we will hit back, demonstrators chanted before police moved in, firing stun grenades to scatter crowds in at least 4 different places in the city. There were no reports of any injuries in Yangon, but several people were wounded in the northwestern town of Kel when police fired live ammunition to disperse the crowd, according to a democracy activist and a reporter in the town. Several are injured, 2 are in critical condition, activist War Pen said. About 20 people were injured in a morning crackdown by police and soldiers in Kel, said the rescue worker on condition of anonymity for fear of repercussions. And the United States is expected to impose sanctions to punish Russia for the poisoning of Kremlin critics Alexei Navalny as early as Tuesday. 2 sources familiar with the matter said on Monday. The United States was expected to impose sanctions on the 2 executive orders, 13,661, which was issued after Russia's 2014 invasion of Crimea, but provides broad authorities to target Russian officials. 13,382 issued in 2005 to combat proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and under the Chemical and Biological Weapons Control and Warfare Elimination Act of 1999, said the sources who spoke on condition of anonymity. Still ahead are news from across Africa. Stay tuned. You're still on TOS 360 News. Welcome back. And in Africa, after nearly 8 years as Secretary General of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, Mr. Akil returned home to Kenya to enter what is likely to be a bruising 2022 presidential race. Kitui wants to be Kenya's next president. The 65-year-old resigned from his prestigious top post in Geneva in February and returned home to Kenya to begin the tough political journey to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is set to leave power next year. Kitui's entry into politics has elicited mixed reactions from both political observers and the average Kenyan. The question is not so much if he is qualified, but how will he make it to the top seats in a country where politics is strongly grounded in ethnic and regional concerns. Experience has shown that intellectuals like Kitui, no matter how qualified, they may be rarely succeed. And Ethiopian Airlines and South Africa's Airlink are well positioned to emerge as African industry winners from the COVID-19 pandemic, analysts say. The outlook for South African Airways and Air Mauritius, meanwhile, is bleak. No African airline will emerge from the pandemic unscathed, says Indigo Ellis, Associate Director at Africa Matters in London. Passengers numbers are less than half their pre-2020 levels, and industry losses to January 2021 are estimated at more than $10.5 billion. This, Alice notes, is despite a return to relative normalcy in some domestic markets over the past 3 months. Travel restrictions to the UK and the US for most arrivals from Southern Africa mean the picture is bleak for many carriers, with limited prospects for government bailouts, says Alice. Neither South Africa nor Air Mauritius have enough cash to stay afloat, Alice explains. Governments are simply not able to offer the kind of liquidity that the aviation sector requires. It is unlikely that some of the smaller pan-continental carriers like Kenya Airways or Rwanda Air will resume the volume of flights to Europe they had before, she adds. Supporters of an opposition figure is accused of rape come to blows with police on Monday in the capital, Dakar. Controversy has dogged Cosman Sonko over media reports that an employee of a beauty salon had filed rape charges against him. Sonko finished third in the 2019 election, which saw President Macky Sall win a second term in office, and is considered a future presidential contender in the West African state. The 46-year-old head of the opposition, Steve Petty, denies the allegation on Twitter, saying it's a political plot created by the president. Dozens of protesters surrounded Sonko's home on Monday and heard barked at police officers. They say, and I quote, "We are here today to send a strong message to President Macky Sall to tell him that we will not accept that Sonko be sacrificed today as we did with the other opponent," said protesters Mustafa Diop. Sonko is a national heritage that carries a social project to bring Senegal out of its rot. We will not accept today that he should be caged, intimidated, persecuted or taken away, as we have done with the others. Sonko reportedly refused to attend a police summons on Monday, saying he had parliamentary immunity, but said he would speak to investigators if it was lifted. He said, and I quote again, "I left everything to take part in this protest because Sonko is what the cost," said protesters Farmer Sonko. They want to silence Osman Sonko, but it won't work. Sonko is the only opponent we have left in the Senegal. All the Senegalese youth believe in him. Sonko's current whereabouts are unknown. Senegal's government was also not immediately available for comment. You're still watching TOS News 360. The news will continue shortly after this timeout. Welcome back, and still on 360 News. 4 media workers in Ethiopia's conflict-racked Tigray region have been arrested and detained, their families and employers said. Tigray has been at the center of fighting since November last year, when Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed announced military operations against the Tigray People Liberation Front, accusing them of attacking federal army camps. The area was in an information black hole for much of that time, with reporting heavily restricted and the internet cut off. Abiy's government declared victory over the TPLF after its forces withdrew from principal cities and towns at the end of November. However, low-level fighting has continued in some parts of Tigray. 7 international media organizations, including Al Jazeera, have not been granted accreditation to report from Tigray, but journalists were warned by officials that might face unspecified corrective measures if they did not meet local standards. Fitsun Batain and Alula Akula, who were working as translators for journalists from AFP News Agency and the Financial Times, were detained on Saturday, their families said. A 4th journalist, Temrat Yemen, was also arrested in Mekelle, the Tigrayan capital. Fitsun and Abula are being held at a military college near Mekelle University, their families told a news agency. Relatives have not been able to see them, and no explanation has been given for the arrest. They are under investigations. The information we have is that there is already some evidence, said Mulu Niga, leader of the interim administration in Tigray, appointed by Addis Ababa. There is no detailed information. And the Department of State Services has released Salihu Tanko Yakasai, the sacked aide of Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano. Salihu was arrested on Friday following his comments asking for President Buhari's resignation if he could not stop the kidnapping of citizens. His brother Abdullahi Yakasai announced his release in a tweet, posting a photo with Salihu. Alhamdulillah, my brother at Dawasu is out. Thank you all at hashtag free Adwisu Abdullahi, he tweeted. On the 27th of February, Abdullahi had alerted the world that his brother was missing from 5 p.m. on 26th of February. The day that he tweeted a call for resignation by the APC government led by Buhari. Clearly, we as APC government at all levels have failed Nigerians in the #1 duty we were elected to do, which is to secure lives and properties. Not a single day goes by without some sort of insecurity in this land. This is a shame. Deal with terrorists decisively or resign, Salihu had tweeted. Some hours after DSS arrested him, his brother alerted the world about his fate. My brother Salihu Tanko Yakasai at Dawisu has not been seen since or heard of since yesterday around 5 p.m. Please, if you have any information about his whereabouts, kindly notify us, please. The DSS initially denied Salihu's arrest, but later admitted they took him. The arrest was condemned by many Nigerians on social media. Simultaneously, Governor Ganduje announced Salihu's sack as one of his aides. And the national leaders of the Council of Ethnic Youth Group in Nigeria this Tuesday in the nation's capital city, Abuja, has called on the President Muhammadu Buhari's led government and appropriate authorities in their country to nationalize Shell Petroleum Development Company, Nigeria Limited, as it accuses the company of the application of illegal metering system, economic sabotage, and clear acts of fund diversion. TOS News has more. Speaking with newsmen, a leader of the group, Anderson Achilike, notes that activities of Shell Petroleum Development Company in Nigeria are nothing but distraction to the present government.
When they discovered this anomaly in the metering system, we learned that they engaged an independent audit organization who conducted audit on the same metering and found out that they had lost of over 16 million barrels of crude. Now, if you convert it to monetary terms, we are talking of hundreds of millions of US dollars.
Representatives of the various ethnic groups present at the meeting also shared their thoughts on the activities of the country's oil and gas industry.
The oil and gas deposits in Nigeria are ordinarily supposed to be for the good and benefit of Nigerians, all Nigerians.
We will oppose anyone who wants to play any role to bring down the revenue of the country.
The menace of crude oil theft and sabotage pains us most, as we helplessly watch our natural resources being carted away by foreign oil companies to enrich themselves.
We have frowned at the actions of Shell in sabotaging the federal government by understating our oil production and reporting more of oil theft than really occurs, thereby causing the heightening of insecurity in Africa.
The group who are accusing the Shell Petroleum Development Company of illegal metering and diversion of funds are calling on the Nigerian government and the appropriate authorities to put an end to the menace going on in the oil and gas industry. Rose Audu reporting for TOS News, Abuja.
Similarly, members of the Amalgamated Union of Foodstuff and Cattle Dealers of Nigeria has decried multiple taxation, harassment and extortion of members by some security personnel and hoodlums. The secretary of the group, Ahmad Al-Rama, stated this in Abuja. Now the report. The secretary of the Amalgamated Union of Foodstuffs and Cattle Dealers of Nigeria, Ahmed Al-Rama, said members of the group have been suffering constant molestations from some security personnel.
Our dismay is we write all the security agencies about this our strike, but unfortunately the Nigerian army were being disgracing or maltreating us badly.
Some members of the group also spoke to TOS News on issues bedeviling the union.
We have a big problem in this our business, which is multiple taxation first. Secondly, people are intimidating our people, our members in the south, or everywhere that any crisis happen there, we are getting problem with the people that are standing here. Be like we are not in Nigerians. So that our problem is just, we wanted Nigeria to consider us.
Today, it is the 5 days on our strike actions, but the Nigerian army came to our 4 places where we put our task posting for those bad acts in our union. We are exercising our right, but we are maybe they want to tell us maybe we don't have freedom to do this strike action.
Members of the Amalgamated Union of Foodstuffs and Cattle Dealers are therefore calling on the federal government to put an end to the suffering of their members. Rose Audu, reporting for TOS News. Fuel queues have continued to grow in the FCT over speculations of increased fuel price, despite government's message that there will be no increase in the price of premium motor spirit, otherwise known as petrol, in March. It is in view of this development that TOS News' Elizabeth Joseph visited some fuel stations in the nation's capital city, Abuja. We will bring you details of this report in a subsequent bulletin. And that's TOS News 360 on your digital first Pan-African network. For more updates, visit www.tostvnetwork.com. And do follow and like TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe on YouTube. I am Rose Audu. Many thanks for watching.
But we as a continent are now defining ourselves.